how many games will the Las Vegas Raiders win in 2024? What's going on, Raider Nation? It's Mitch back here with another NFL record prediction, this time for the Las Vegas Raiders, giving you my thoughts on their 2024 schedule, going through the tough matchups, the easier matchups, and determining their record for this season. Will they be a playoff team this year and make that jump? Have the improvements to the offense and the defense been enough? Is the new coach, the energy that they need, the new quarterback, going to allow the Raiders to turn the page to a new era? Or will the Raiders still struggle in 2024, and maybe they're a year or two away from making the playoffs, from making noise within the AFC West? Gronk, spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more NFL record predictions, including the rest of the AFC West, to see where the Raiders really fall within their division. And get in the comments and let me know how good you think the Raiders will be this year. Do you think they'll be one of the worst teams in the AFC? Do you think they'll finish second in the AFC West? Do you think they'll make the playoffs? Let me know in the comment section below, and let's go. Let's get to the schedule. It all starts in Los Angeles against the Chargers. Of course, the city of LA has been the Raider city for quite a long time. And so these games are typically never road games. They're 50-50 splits. Even sometimes the Raiders have more fans than the Chargers do. This is a tricky matchup for the Raiders because, yes, they have a new coach and potentially a new quarterback here. They do have some new elements on offense and defense. Brock Bowers, new offensive lineman, Christian Wilkins on defense, etc. But the Chargers have a new coach, Jim Harbaugh, who actually was raised in the Raider organization, in the Raider way. And so he'll have a lot of respect going into this matchup. And I feel that Harbaugh is going to provide an edge to the Chargers early in the year that's hard to quantify, because he's one of those coaches that he enters a building, he changes the culture, he changes the energy, he brings excitement, and he gets a better product, especially considering the recent coach, the most previous coach, was Brandon Staley. So Harbaugh is going to be a major lift. The Chargers are not as talented as they were the last couple of years. I'd argue the Raiders are just as talented, maybe a little bit more talented than the Chargers. But the main difference is Justin Herbert. He's the better quarterback in this game. The Chargers should be fully healthy with a new and improved offensive line and some different schemes on offense and defense that are hard to really understand and go into a game and prepare for, right? Greg Roman is the offensive coordinator. They're going to have a new-looking defense, still with talented players like Khalil Mack. The Raider revenge is real. I think the Chargers probably win this game, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Raiders won this game. As I said, I think it could be very close. I think that the Raiders, in many ways, have more talent than the Chargers. I just feel like the energy of Harbaugh, the home field, if there is any, at least it's not in Vegas, because there's a big advantage there, and Herbert, Harbaugh, and the new schemes on top of Khalil Mack, I think the Chargers probably pull it out. Close one, but I think the Chargers pull it out. I will say, looking at the Charger matchups, they're first and last in this season. I would expect the Raiders to take one of those games, if not both. But I think Herbert wins one of these. He is the best quarterback that either of these teams have. And so I can't say that the Raiders would sweep the better quarterback here. So I'm going to go with the Chargers in one, the Herbert and Harbaugh boost early, and then the Raiders win the last one. Week 2, they play the Baltimore Ravens, the reigning number 1 seed of the AFC in last year's playoffs. The best team in the regular season last year, for my money. The Ravens, I think, will win that game in Baltimore. Tough place to play. With Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell, they're going to be outgunned at quarterback, playing the MVP of professional football, Lamar Jackson. The Ravens will have new elements to their defense with a new defensive coordinator and multiple new starters. They'll also have new elements to their offensive line. If the Raiders want to compete here, their D-line is going to have to win this matchup, and they're going to have to figure out how to cover Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews and stop Derrick Henry running the ball. I just think the Ravens are a well-coached team that has overwhelming advantage at quarterback, and then also a strong defense, a pretty awesome offense, an overall good team, and it's in Baltimore. A tough game for the Raiders. I think they get on a little bit of a winning streak here after week number 2, where they start 0-2, but I think they beat the Panthers at home. I think that the Raiders' home opener is always lit and always near a guarantee that they're going to come out strong and play hard. So that's first and foremost. Secondly, it's the easiest opponent they've played all year so far. It's Bryce Young, one of the worst quarterbacks. And yes, there's probably a more talented offense in Carolina, but I think the Raiders' pass rush could give the Panthers some issues, especially on the road, Carolina. And then I think the Raiders' offense can get it going against a Carolina defense that I'm not so sure is very good. Week 4, the Browns. This will be a really tough matchup. The Browns have a very good defense, but if you recall last year, their defense was much worse when it was on the road. I don't know how true that really is, but at the same time, I'm going to lean Raiders here to win a physical, close defensive ball game where their defense makes a couple of plays, the Raiders turnovers, force some fumbles, maybe a couple interceptions, some sacks. They get pressure on Deshaun Watson. They stop Nick Chubb in the running game, and they win another at home. They've played really well against the Broncos as of late, the last couple of seasons. I think they'll win that game as well to go 3-2 into week number 6 against the Steelers. This is a game that I could see going either way. This is a flip of the coin type game. Both the Raiders and Steelers are very close in terms of their identities. They're tough, they're gritty, their quarterback play isn't ideal or fantastic, but they rely on a running game, their offensive line play, smart coaching, and a defensive club. The Raiders have the edge of home field, but I think the Steelers have edge in coaching. I think the Steelers are also slightly more talented on defense. So I'm going to go with the Steelers here to win a close Steeler-like ball game against the Raiders, a classic 70s matchup in the AFC. I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Rams to beat the Raiders in LA. The Rams are a little bit different from the Chargers. They have a more complete offense with multiple great receivers in Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. They have an awesome running back, a great veteran, maybe future Hall of Fame quarterback in Matthew Stafford, a great coach who's upper echelon in Sean McVay, and a defense that has improved in areas but has also regressed in certain areas. They have lost Aaron Donald. I don't think this will be an easy win for the Rams, but I do think that I would expect Stafford to take this game. Week 8, the Raiders play at home against the Chiefs. They've played the Chiefs well, mostly of late, but I kind of feel like they've played better in Kansas City than they've played in Las Vegas. I think the fast track, the dome, that environment for Kansas City has often been easier for the Chiefs to move the ball, score points, and win in a shootout or win in kind of a landslide. So I have Kansas City winning that game in Vegas. Then in week 9, they play another one of the best quarterbacks in football, another one of the best offenses in football, another one of the premier AFC teams in football. I got the Bengals to beat the Raiders. Entering their bye week, they're 4-6, which isn't awful. It's probably about what's expected. And just overall, what I'm noticing about this schedule for the Raiders is that they're playing some tough teams. I mean, the Rams, the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Ravens are probably projected to all be playoff teams. Rather, the Browns or the Steelers, one of those teams is probably going to make the playoffs as well. Then they enter the bye week. They play a tough Miami team. This could be potentially a win here off the bye week, time to prepare for Miami. I think that, I almost called them Oakland. I wish they were still Oakland, but that's just a side point. I do like the vibe in Vegas, though, I will say. I think that the Raiders will be well prepared defensively, but Miami's a tough place to play, and if Miami gets their speed humming in the secondary of the Raiders, it's going to be difficult. As long as the Dolphins can protect Tua, I think the Dolphins come out on top here. I think their defense will also be better at this point in the year, Miami's, because they'll be healthier. They start off the season with some big injuries to their front seven. Week 12, I think the Raiders sweep the Broncos. They're a terrible football team, and the Raiders have dominated them as of late. I think the Raiders get their upset of the Chiefs on Black Friday in Kansas City, very similar to last year at Christmas. I think this is the Black Friday game the Raiders have been promised. The silver and black is going to take it on this day. I just feel the vibes, the energy of the Raiders. John Madden will power them to victory with a strong running game and good defensive play and probably a lackluster Mahomes performance. It tends to happen every once in a while. Week 14, they play the Bucs in Tampa. I think I lean Tampa. Tampa's good against the run. They've got a strong defensive coach in Todd Bowles, multiple weapons to attack you with, and they also have, a better quarterback, Baker Mayfield. Week 15, the Atlanta Falcons play in Vegas. This one's tough. I could see this game going either way. I think Vegas is a tough place to play, especially on a Monday night. The Raiders will be looking for their last gasp, their last run at a playoff spot. So this is a very important game for them. I lean Raiders here, but I'm not positive about it. I lean Raiders. I think the Raiders can move the ball in the Falcons' defense. I do think Cousins is the superior quarterback. I do think the Falcons have the overall better offense. But I like the home field, the Monday night advantage of the Raiders. I also like just their ability to control the ball, pressure Cousins. I think there's a lot of advantageous things about this matchup as well. The Raiders, I think, can also stop the run and slow down Bijan in this game. Week 16, they play Jacksonville. And week 17, they play the Saints. I honestly can't remember if I gave the Jags a win over the Raiders or if I didn't. I think I picked Jacksonville just because I think they've got the superior coach and the superior quarterback, Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence, and it doesn't get much more complicated than that. I think Jacksonville is a sleeper this year. I think that their defense is improved and their offensive line's improved, and they've got pretty good skill talent as well. I think Jacksonville is the superior team. And I think Derek Carr gets his revenge against the Raiders in week 17. Maybe pushing the Saints into a playoff spot. But I have the Raiders at 7-10. You guys know me. If you follow my channel, I respect the Raiders a lot. I love their history. I like their team. I wish the Raiders were better. I don't think they're bad. I think they're one of those teams, though, that just doesn't have a quarterback. And that's my honest take. I think Antonio Pierce is a bit of a wild card. I don't think they have the best coaching, especially offensively or head coaching wise. Pierce is interesting. I'm intrigued by him. Can he be the next Dan Campbell type? Maybe. Quarterback is obviously one of the lower end starters in the league. The offensive line has some potential, but is obviously pretty young in certain spots. I love the draft that they had with Brock Bowers and Powers Johnson, though. I also still think Devontae can play at a high level. Jacoby can play at a high level. Their defense is solid. I don't think it's fantastic. It's not great, but it's very solid and well coached. I think the Raiders could end up being anywhere from a 5-win team, depending on the quarterback play, to a 9-win team, somewhere in that range. They have a pretty wide spectrum of being probably pretty average, but rather very feisty or like not very good. Like just on the short end of losing some close games. That's kind of where I see the Raiders. Pretty similar to last year, but just playing more consistent football from from the whole season, from week to week. So that's how I see the Raiders this year. I want them to do well every season, but I just think they need that quarterback before I can truly trust them. Thanks, guys, for watching. Gronk spike the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Go Raiders. Peace.